guys, welcome or welcome back to the YouTube channel. My name is Blungubane. If you are a new viewer, please make sure that hit the subscribe button to join the Ever So Blue family. And if you are a returning subscriber, honey, let me just take a moment to let you know that you are a real one. Thank you for tuning in. Please make sure that you like this video, and if you haven't already subscribed, please make sure that you subscribe to join the Ever So Blue family. I do hope that you enjoy this content. I hope that it uplifts you, it heals you in some form or shape. There is relatability just in terms of knowing that you're not alone and knowing that you can come out on the other side. But this is like relative to the context of what I'm saying. Not everything you can relate to, and not everything means that there is healing. You know, the message behind it is healing. So, without further more to do, let us go into our first conversation of the day, which is my relationship with God. So I just want to talk about my relationship with God currently. So as a born again Christian, it has been a long walk. It has been a long walk, but best believe God has shown up in my life in ways that I can never even fathom. How does one show up knowing that I've done this and this and this, I've said this and this and this, and it just shows his agape kind of love. So currently with my relationship with God, it has had like a lot of ups and downs, and mainly because like my relationship with God is one relationship that just overlaps in just every aspect of my life. Currently it is like overflowing a lot into the aspect of my life where my career is concerned, because I have this expectation, okay, with my career this is what I want and want and want and want, but I'm not getting that. So God, where are you? And I'll just engage with God. Goes, how? Where are you? I'm not finding you. You said you would be with me. You said I must do these certain things. And I trust and believe that I'm being led by you. And everything was just kind of smooth for me to transition to a different city, just leaving my life behind and living everything that I thought I knew and I knew behind, just to follow and trusting that I'm following you. But I'm here now. Things are not actually happening the way that I believe that were going to happen, and I believe that you called me to this place for a reason. And because a lot, like my career has been pondering a lot in my mind, just how things are gonna work out has been like the core and the center of just my life for the past 2 years. And because like a lot of things that have happened are not necessarily in alignment with my expectation or what I thought God was gonna do, I feel rejected by God. I feel not seen by him. I will feel like God is not showing up for me as God. Like in my life, like my expectation is always for God to just, miracle and miracle and miracle and miracle, And then I think, this is how I think, that you must just miracle, 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 miracle. And then when it comes to character development, so ibona masusungnikile anointing. So ibona mase when you've blessed me, we will see that after you've blessed me. We will see it after you've poured on me, after heaven's gates have opened in my life. We will see character developments and everything. If you're working on my patience, we'll see that after you've given me all of these things. And I'm to the realization of that God necessarily doesn't work like that. And for me, it's just like, why don't you work like that? It's kind of like, why don't you trust me? Like, you've been with me my whole life. You know that I'm not a shady character. You know that money is not going to change me. You know this and this and this. You know. But why aren't you giving me money? Like, why aren't you just 25 billion on my account? You know money's not going to change me. You know me, God. Like, you see through and through and through and through me. So I wouldn't do you like that. Like that's my expectation. Was it just bless me? Character development is also patience or whatever. It's gonna come after you've blessed me. But I feel like this season of my life, because like my career again is such like a pondering thing in my heart and in my mind, it's constantly just like everything that I wake up and think about and I'm working towards. that God is using that specific thing that is in my heart to just work in me. Like he's doing everything else except give me that thing. Every other aspect of my life, I feel there's an element of thriving in it, but just my career. He's giving me, everything that I need currently, to show up, to, work towards what I want. But I'm not getting what I want. And that's just the perception from my standing point as a human being, as a very, very flawed human being, as a very, very biased human being, as a very, very gullible human being, that this is the perspective and the stance that I have taken, just to engage with God. Because if I'm not seeing it, then God is not doing it. And therefore, for me, it is not right. It's incorrect for me to say that God is not doing anything regarding to the things that are deep in my heart, that are pondering in my mind, that are constantly stressing me, that are constantly, me trying to figure a way out, and all of those things, especially if I believe and I'm convicted that he is the reason. He was the one who took me from my comfort zone, the places that I am, and in the spaces that I take up. My relationship with God right now, on my end, it's just touch and go. But I know that my God is a consistent God. He is ever so faithful, and he's not just going to say, no, Blue is not showing up, she's not doing her best. My inadequacies, it does not determine the godness. It does not determine whether everything that is spoken in my life are not going to happen. But it doesn't take away the things that he has called for me, the things that he has called in my life, the things that he has called me. Because every single time I doubted, I would be forfeiting everything that I have. Every time I doubted, every time I had little faith, every time, something didn't go my way. One thing that I've noticed about me, oh my gosh, I throw so many tantrums at God. Like, oh my God, especially when like things are not going my way. Like, I'm so sorry, God. Like, I'm so sorry. I'm honestly just trying my best. But like every time I was expecting something, and then there was a bit of hope, and then there was a bit of hope, and then it doesn't happen. I'm like, first of all, God. First of all, you said, like, not in a very safe kind of, it's like a very passive aggressive kind of, you said that, God, I must do this, I must do that. So why didn't this opportunity open for me? Like, I'm so God forgive me, but I'm so quick to accuse God of not playing his role. But I don't necessarily realize my own role is to trust and lean not on my own understanding, but trust him with my whole heart. But even moments, even that just goes out the window. Would see trust who?
You must show up. You must show up as God. Even when I'm not doing my best, you must show up. Show up as my God.
Like, that's not necessarily how I say that, but just how intense my emotions would be in that moment are equivalent to like what I was saying. Just my relationship with God. I feel like there are moments like it fluctuates, it's up and down, and there are moments where I feel like I'm not doing enough on my end, and that reads, and how I project that is that I always blame myself if things perhaps don't work or don't go according to how I thought they should have gone. Like, maybe I think to myself, I didn't pray enough, I didn't have faith enough, I didn't, I doubted in that moment. I showed as the lesser version of myself. But I know, like, when God says it's time, no matter if I am performing a negative 100%, if God has said this is time, it is time, he will make sure that it happens, even though the circumstances on my abilities as a human being are insufficient, because he has called qualified. He will qualify me. He's the one who called me. I wasn't called by a man. He called me because his grace is sufficient in my insufficiency. Period. I put a lot of blame on myself. I put a lot of blame on God. And it's just like been a back and forth, a back and forth. But one thing consistently that I have been doing that I really love myself for, and that just shows growth in my spiritual walk, is that I always go back to God. Like, I don't care if I feel that it was on me. I feel that it was on God. Like, God was supposed to do that. Like, it doesn't matter. I will always go back to Him. I will humble myself. I will say, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. I let the emotions get the better of me. I let my own expectations get the better of me. I let myself get the better of me. I lacked judgment. I lacked spiritual discernment. I am so sorry about that. But this is how I feel. And I just express myself and I just, go on, I go on, I go on. And then I sit down, I open my Bible and I read what my father has to say just about that situation, about that moment of disappointment, that moment of sadness. For me, that consistency is just like the Holy Spirit working in me, for me to always go back to Him, to go back to Him, not to like, aye, ngiyangibona ukuthi awukho serious ngokungiphumelelisa izobonani. But to, even when I say that, ukuthi ayi sengizozihambela ngezami izandla, and I fail dismally, of course, but I can still come back to Him because He says, oh, my people, I should bless them, I should forgive their land. And that's what He does for me. Like, what, that's the grace that is sufficient for me. And what I just love with my relationship with God is that He knew everything that would happen. He knew every tantrum that I would throw at Him, with every no, with every rejection that has come my way. He knew that all of these things are going to happen. And what I really appreciate is just with just my career alone, God is overflowing into all these different aspects of my life. God is working in every aspect of my life simultaneously through my career, through just my set mind on Gucci. Okay, my career is like the thing that is most important right now. He is working and overflowing His work into just in every aspect of my life. Ngulunkulu knows that my career is pondering in my heart. Everything outside of my career is just going to be like bombastic said. I will move on from it. I will not entertain it. And therefore thus He's taken the stance to work in me through my desires, through my career, the plans that I have towards my career, what the visions that I have for my career. Overall, I'm just really grateful for God, because God shows up for me in just moments when I can't even show up for myself, in moments when I'm just, I can't even, pick myself up. He picks me up. In moments where I'm at my best, I'm at my, like, yeah, man, like life is just, happening for me. Even in those moments, He never ceases to show up as God in my life. And I'm really grateful for that. And I do not take it lightly, because I had like moments in time in my life where the presence of God felt like something that is non-existent, and those were the most miserable moments of my life, that I can never ever go a day without God, without just knowing Him. And that's what I love, just with our relationship right now, is that He's working on my perception, even with Him, of Him. How do I see God? My past references of how I see Him do not equate to how I should see Him. I must not see God based on the past references of how He did things. Because what He did for me then is not a reflection of who He is in His entirety. I need Him to be the God that is in the season with me. I need Him to be, if I'm in a season of just dry land and dry, everything's dry, I need Him to show up as a God of water, a God of overflowing water, a God of, of spinach. Why did I think of that? I'm going through a season of overflow. I see Him as a God of overflow. I see Him as a God of sustenance, to sustain me, to discipline me. Even though there's an overflow of this, I need discipline so that mekhona nje amabheka awu-50 la ngingawadli ngesikhathi esisodwa la mabheka awu-50. Just basically the essence of ukuthi uNkulunkulu, how he is, who God is with every season of my life. And that with every season of my life being introduced to who he is with every season, that allows me to just build an overall picture of who God is. So that when I stand and say, when I stand and say, my God is this, when I say my God is Yahweh, I know what I'm talking about. Meaning, my God is Elohim. I know for sure Guti, that is who he is in my life, and I just want to experience an all around who he is. And that is also something that I'm praying for, because in my mind, because that's how he used to work in my life before, that is just my expectation with just going in every, with my day-to-day life, because okay, God is going to show up for me in this way, and then when he doesn't show up for me in that way, I feel like shoot, I'm not doing enough, and I feel like shoot, God uyangimize, like he's akayingeni nje indaba yami. But perhaps he has showed up for me in a way that, because I am accustomed to him showing up this way, I'm gonna neglect any kind of way that he shows up, because I don't see him showing up other than this way. But other than that, my relationship with God is a very healthy one, that I must say. I'm a constant work in progress, and God is constantly working in me and is working through me to just renew my mind, to revive my spirit. And he's renewing my mind to be in alignment with his word, and that's not necessarily something that I can do overnight, because I have so much unlearning to do with the way of this world, and I have so much to learn, and just the nuances of that is gonna be reflective in the next 30 years of my life. So that's about right now how my relationship with God is. I believe that we are working towards it being a father-daughter relationship, because right now it still feels like it's a transactional. If I behave well, you place me. If I don't behave well, you don't place me. If I it feels like that. But I'm trusting and I'm believing that personally, my personal work with God currently is just moving towards that father-daughter dynamic, and just accepting of his unconditional love, and just knowing what the cross truly means in its essence. I think I'm working towards that. I just can't wait to see what God has in store for me, what he has in store for our relationship. So another thing that I wanted to talk about is just life. I don't know why I just chose such a broad term to include, but yeah, but my life mainly has just been my career, pondering in my mind, just for ways to advance my career, to do better for myself, and allow better opportunities for myself. And that's just been like one thing that I have, that has been in my mind quite often these past few months, year and a half. And the reason is because I want better for my life, and I want better for myself, and any opportunity that gives me that, I will take it up and I'll just run with it. Yeah. But overall, life is good. I'm currently with just my health. I'm very healthy. Healthy as a horse, they say. I'm very healthy currently. I am mentally, I am at a good space. Compared to where I was last year, I am at a very good place, and that has a lot to do with just my relationship with God, because I feel close to God, and even when I don't feel close to God, I know that he's close to me, and therefore there's that conviction that everything is going to be okay, because he has me at the palm of his hand, because I am the apple of his eye, period. So that is how that's going. Yeah. So the next topic is family. So for me, the topic of family is a very sensitive one currently, because having moved to a different city altogether, my expectation was just like immense support from my family, just like every other week or every other month. A call, how you doing? Is everything good? They look for no 2 billion. Are you fine? Are you sharp? Or just that kind of engagement. And I haven't gotten that. Like, I really haven't gotten that. And that sucks. I mean, it really does suck, because your expectation is that, like, the people that, are in your family are for everything that is pertaining to your success in any form or shape. But I necessarily haven't received that kind of support, just in terms of moving to a different city so that I can thrive in my career, thrive as just a person overall. But just like the feedback that I have gotten, doesn't put me in a position where I feel good about just family and the dynamic of my family. And for me, my relationship with my grandmother, out of all just my family members, my siblings, it is the most significant relationship personally for me. And I would just move the ends of the world for my grandmother, because she has supported me, she has loved me, she has been there for me, she has really showed up for me, and played a role of both a mother and a father figure in my life. And I'm very grateful for that. Grandmother is my number one supporter, and I love her to bits. So my relationship with my dad is a very, very strange relationship. I've come to the conclusion personally, removing myself from just that dynamic, because I felt like I was doing more work as a child than he was, and that was hurting me a lot, especially when he would set up expectations for me, and only to not meet those expectations, only for me to just be left stranded, feeling abandoned, feeling unworthy of his love, of his affection, of just him at least living up to the expectation that he set me up for. And I just removed myself from that just dynamic altogether. I mean, it sucks, but it's just kind of, it's okay. Like, ngiyaphila. Like, it's ngiyaphila. I'm living life, and I'm doing the things that I love, and I'm surrounded by people that genuinely love me. Would I rather have like a different dynamic with my father altogether? Absolutely. I would love to have like a deep father daughter relationship, but that however much I have tried or can try or will ever try, that is not up to me. Because I have tried in the past. I've tried to show up as perhaps the best daughter, like to show up as like the best thing ever to happen to him, but it has never been. The ball is not in my courts. Like, the ball is not in my courts, it's in his. And therefore, if he doesn't allow and give space or room, rather, for me to come in as a child, and for us to just have that relationship, there's really nothing much I can do about it. And I've grown to be like okay with it, and as much as that is so messed up, but I felt like for my own sake, for my mental health, and just for my stability as a person, to remove myself from that situation, and just from that dynamic of someone who's a present parent at one point, who's not present, and then is not present, and then is present and is not present. For me, that was just messing up with my mental psyche of just how I perceived even myself, my self image. Uguti, he's present, with I would associate it with myself. Like, am I a good daughter for him to just show up? Am I a good child? Am I doing enough? I was just putting it on me, and I was doing all these things that I felt that I need to do to just kind of earn basically his love, earn his affection, earn his attention. which is not something that she's supposed to do, but no matter how much I tried or whatever, it didn't really happen how I wanted it to happen, how I envisioned like our relationship is going to be. And that's okay. Like, I'm growing up and I'm learning to heal, and especially because like how God is working in me, He's also working in the nuances of just those relationships and those gaps in my life, and I'm grateful. And I see now like the work that God has done in my life, because I used to be so angry and I would get so worked up about just like my relationship with my dad and how he's not showing up and how he's not holding his end of the bargain. But I've come to a moment of just, I'm okay. If he comes back and he wants to fix a relationship with me, I am open to that. But also, if he never comes and never wants to fix a relationship with me, I am also okay with that. That is how much grace like God has given me. And I've had to do like a lot of internal work as well, and just to forgive him for my sake, for my just, well-being overall, to not just sit there, be angry and just be worked up about someone who's probably not even thinking about me one bit. The important thing for me right now is the family that I will bring, the family that I will create. So the next aspect of my life that I would like to touch on is just my friendships. There has been a lot of cutting off people on my end, and I think that comes a lot with just healing and finding yourself and finding your worth. Because a lot of the times where I get stuck in very toxic situations, or in situations where the friendship or the relationship is not serving me, it's because there was a very, very extensive element of just not knowing my self-worth, and just not knowing, what I have to bring to the table, and just not also overall not trusting what I have to bring to the table is very significant. Yeah, boy. And there has been a lot of cutting off just friends and just everything that does not serve me. And the reason for that is that I've chosen myself. Like, I found myself in a lot of situations where I would choose the other person over myself. Whether I chose to keep quiet in a moment where I was supposed to speak up and stand up for myself, or in a moment when I did something that I didn't necessarily want to do, but because the other person wanted to do it, I was like, okay, I would compromise, knowing very well if the tables were turned, they would not compromise, knowing very well that if the tables were turned, they would not keep quiet about how they're feeling and just, everything that is happening. And so I took an initial decision, especially when it came to just the beginning of this year, is that this year I wanted to do everything that I wanted to do. I suddenly just I had like a rush and a gush of just me. Like, I'm choosing me. Like, I'm choosing me. I'm taking care of me. And that came with just realizing that some friendships are not necessarily serving me, are one-sided and or are toxic. And I didn't like feeling like, I don't like feeling lesser than with just any kind of friendship that like I am desperate. I am an army on my own, and that's on period. But that does not necessarily take away the need for companionship, the need to build with just other, need to feel a belonging, and that can translate into like a group of friends, into an individual friend. It doesn't take away the deep yearning and desire to be around people. Like, I feel like I'm one person that is going to give you many chances and many opportunities to obviously redeem yourself. And I'm not very confrontational in terms of, you did this, you made me feel like that, especially if I know that you're not the kind of person to allow or you're not the kind of person that has allowed for that space of just interaction where I can share my feelings with you and it's a safe space. So the overall reason why I have cut a lot of friends is just that, like, the realization of my self-worth, and I don't need like these kinds of people in my life for especially where I'm going, you know. I need people that are going to be for me, you know. I don't want friends that are gonna be in secret competition with me, that are gonna be envious of me, that are gonna be jealous, that are gonna be spewing lies. I don't have time. I don't have time for that. Like, I honestly don't have time. And if I ever found myself in situations where I tolerated that for perhaps longer than I should have, it's because I was lacking self worth and I didn't know any better, or I was blinded by just who you used to be at the beginning of the friendship, but you're not, you know. And I am struggling perhaps in that moment to connect the fact that you're not the same person you were in the beginning, and perhaps it was just for you to lure me in, and so that we think, or I thought that we are friends, but you were never my friend. It was actually always one-sided. And so my phone switched off, so I had to just go offline and charge it and then come back. It was a bit of an admin, but I am here. So basically, most of my friendship, like, fallout has mainly because I felt like it was one-sided relationship. I was pouring more than I was getting out. And then also, if like the friendship was just making me act out of character a lot, you know, and not necessarily just, you know, just things that are external, but more of internal. If I'm often like feeling anxious around you, you know, that is not my thriving, you know, aura. Like, if I'm feeling things like that, if you're making me feel some type of way that is out of character within myself, and if I feel like you bring out the worst of me, like you make me think of things that I would not like to think of, like if I have to think that maybe you're not my friend, you know, it just makes me very discouraged in the sense that, oh my gosh, I poured out my love, I poured out my affection, I poured out my time, my resources. It's just making sure that our friendship works, our relationship, like, it's stronger. Because I'm one person that is not very like short term. I love to have long term things, like work towards the long term things. I like building. Like, one thing that I really like doing is just building, whether it's relationships and stuff like that. But I like a sense of growing or development within myself, within the people that are around me, relationships, just overall like growth, moving forward, building an empire or whatever the case may be. So when it comes to just things that are as a little or petty or anything like that, I choose to not engage with them, because automatically when I see, like, for example, as I was saying, that I will see a lot of red flags, but I will not notice them, or rather I will not act on them, you know, to address them. Would say, oh, I didn't like what you did, I didn't like when you said that, or oftentimes I will realize a pattern after a while, because, you know, when you come into a space, and especially if you care about someone, you don't come in a very accusatory stance. You don't just, I'm not expecting you to be, for example, back to be thinking of backstabbing me, because that's not something that I'm thinking of, you know. So if you're thinking of backstabbing me, that is not the lenses in which I engage with you. Therefore, thus, any hint or anything like that that shows that this person is gonna backstab me, I will not take, you know, into account or recognize or be aware of, because that is not my thinking. That is not where my lens is and how I engage and the perception that I have of you. And therefore that kind of sets me back a bit in some shape or form, because it makes me, only after a few incidents, that this person, I start to really see them for who they are. And I've kind of, you know, I've kind of been okay with just losing people in my life because I believe that the kind of person that I am is testament to the fact that they are my kind of people. And just because this person is not my kind of people, or rather my group of people or my people, doesn't take away the fact that they are my people. And therefore, I should just look forward to finding my people. And if that means that this person has came for a season, a moment in time in my life, sharp, we're just gonna keep it moving, we're gonna keep it going. And I often don't make it like so dramatic, like, oh my gosh. I often just delete your number. I often just delete your number, Ozobona now. If someone cared enough to really notice within a week that you haven't been online, you haven't posted any statuses or anything like that, like a true friend will take initiative from the first, like, maybe even 3 days and be like, are you good? But because this person really was not like, didn't necessarily care for you to that extent, even if like you were behaving weirdly, they would, question with how what's happening, you know. But I'm at a point, where I'm okay. Like I'm okay with the idea of being alone. Like I used to think that I needed like people around me. I needed to be surrounded by people. I'm okay with just how things are and where I am with the state of my mind. And currently, because there's a lot of just growth that is happening in my early 20s. Yo. Ah, that's what I wanted to talk about, like in the life aspectivity. Life in your early 20s is gonna try you. It's gonna try you. Everything that you think that you know. Everything that you think that you thought that you know. Everything that you think that you think that you think that you know is gonna be tried, honey. It's gonna be tried. Everything that you believe in, how you see the world, how you engage with the world, your self-image, your self-worth, everything that you believe, even about yourself, even about your faith, even about your family, your friends, just everything is tried. And I think what I love about this season of my life, of just realization with you, is just how deeper my roots are going, especially within my faith and within myself and just everything about me. But now I'm like connecting deeper to myself. I knew God, but now I'm connecting deeper to God. And what that does, like the roots are going under, deepening, are going deep on the ground. Obviously, the ground is not water. There's rocks down there that you're gonna try to push through. What you gotta do? What you gotta do when life is trying every aspect of your life? Like there's literally no balance. No balance. If there's a balance here, if there's a balance outside, boom. I'm like so grateful Gucci I have God, because I don't know how I would be navigating life like with the shots that it's throwing, and literally has like an AK-47 that is just every 2 seconds I to my way. Honestly, life is not for the faint-hearted, but everyone is corner, and we will make it happen by the grace of God. The fact that I am here today, the fact that you're here today means that you can do it. Means that your story is not over. And therefore, that's even at our worst, at our lowest, we're gonna show up. We're gonna show up with our 0%, and we will still show up with 100%. But showing up is a must. We will do that. And that's on period. Period. Okay? Don't play with me. That is one thing also that I'm just applauding myself with just the season of my life, is that I'm very intentional. Or back then, nanoma yiphi insiphi iyawasha, whatever soap it is, it washes. But now I'm very selective and very intentional because I have a vision with where I want to go. I have goals within myself, my healing, just my mental health, my emotional health, my spiritual being, just all of these aspects of me right now require me to be a certain version of myself. And therefore, for me to be that version of myself, to be the version that I see myself as Meluguti, to be selective of just everything that I encounter and every experience that I come across. This speaks across all aspects of my life. You know, when, for example, a negative thought comes into my mind, do I choose to entertain that thought? Do I choose to believe the latter, believe what God has said about me, or believe what this thought is saying? Am I just going to go around pouring to people because I'm always sufficient, like God is always pouring into me? Or am I intentional in pouring? And just because I'm able to pour doesn't mean I must go around pouring. So I love that this season of my life has allowed me and shaped me to just be intentional and be precise with everything that I do. Like, I am more aware of myself and my actions now than I think I was 2 years ago, because I understand that everything that I do, every action that I do, everything has a consequence on my actions. Whoa! Like, I am now very, very intentional with just everything that I do, that I engage, that I am, that I am choosing to be. I am choosing myself. I am choosing myself over and over again. And it is like coming back to home, like coming back to home. Just the little things for me that has allowed me to be home to myself. I think that is what God is working in my life, and it is just such a beautiful thing to watch. It is such a beautiful thing to experience. Nonetheless, guys, load shedding has hit, and unfortunately I had to end the video right here. Thank you once again for tuning in. Please make sure that you like this video and do subscribe to the Ever So Blue YouTube channel. Until next time, please make sure that you take care, and I will see you in the next video.